now, coming to you live from Detroit, your host, Claudreen Jackson.
Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Claudreen Jackson Show. It's my very new show. I've been doing a show. My old show is called A Spoonful of Comfort. You can find A Spoonful of Comfort on Google, YouTube, and on the WHPR TV website. And I thought I was going to retire. This young producer, Prophet Blaine Irving, came along and gave me a new way of thinking. So he upgraded the show and added something to it. And so I'm so thankful for him, and I'm thankful that he inspired me to continue going. So I want to start the show with a prayer. Dear Lord, guide me, help me, show me the way. Lord, we humbly ask that you give us the comfort of your presence and the confidence to trust in you, even when the outcome is uncertain. And Lord, that's when we really need to trust in you, when the outcome is uncertain. Please calm my mind, bring peace to my heart, strengthen my spirit to carry on, lay a path for me, and help me to follow your way as I move forward. And Lord, please give a special blessing to my guests on the show and to my watchers of the show. And we pray that you keep them safe in your presence and enfolded in your love. So I'm going to take a short break. Stick and stay and don't go away, and I'll be back with a very special guest.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call. So please call right now.
Thank you so much for sticking with me for the Claudreen Jackson Show. One of the reasons I do this show is because of the Purvis Jackson Jr. Autism Foundation. My son, Purvis Jackson Jr., is handicapped by autism. He cannot read, write, talk, or live independently, and I didn't think I would survive because of him. So we have a very special guest, and we're going to have a discussion about autism. But first, I want to share with you the poem we wrote for the people who donate to the Purvis Jackson Foundation. If you make a donation to the Purvis Foundation, whether it be large or small, we pray that God's love comes down to you from above, because you are the best people of all. If you make a donation to the Purvis Foundation, you're helping handicapped children in need. So you can be proud of yourself because you have already done a good deed. A donation to the foundation will help the situation. Because we can't do everything doesn't mean we can't do something. So a donation to the foundation will help the situation. Handicapped children can get help from me and you because we will do what we can do. And if you want to make a donation to the Purvis Foundation, we will greatly appreciate you. You can find us at our P.O. Box 04422. That's P.O. Box 04422, Detroit, Michigan 48204. You can also donate through Facebook. Facebook has a section called Network for Good, and you can specify what charity you want your donation to go to. So for all who have donated, I thank you. For all who want to donate and can't, I understand. I've been in that situation too. So now I'm ready to present to you my very special guest. Today we're having a topic about autism. I have a son who's handicapped by autism, so it's very near and dear to my heart, as I've told you about the Purvis Foundation. My autistic son is 48. He can't read, write, talk, or live independently. The lady that I'm about to introduce to you has an autism story totally different from mine, and she has let me know that some people may have it harder than you, because you know, when we're having our problems, we tend to think we're the only person going through this. Well, the lady that I'm going to introduce you to has been through many things that I haven't. It's Tatiana Brantley, who is the parent of 4 children. So tell us about your 4 children, darling.
I have 3 girls and 1 boy. My oldest is 18. Then there's a bit of a gap. I have a 6-year-old son, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old daughter. And my children are on different ends of the spectrum. So I have about, I like to say I have almost every end of the spectrum in my house.
Yes.
Having children on different ends of the spectrum teaches a different perspective.
I'm sure it does.
It teaches it, and it has taught me how to parent differently. It has caused me to grow in a lot of areas. So they're a blessing for me, even in my self journey, and I'm honored that God chose me to.
And I am so proud of you, because you have the totally different perspective than I had when I found out how severe my son's condition was. I did not have the strength that you are exhibiting, and you seem to have had it from the very beginning. It's like you were almost prepared, and I kept saying, I'm not prepared, I'm not prepared, I'm not prepared. One day the Lord said, well, get prepared. So I started learning about autism. I started joining committees and doing things that I thought was going to cure my son that didn't. And I say that God didn't cure my son, but he cured me. And my son can't speak, but I can speak for him. So I grew up. But you were already grown when you were children.
Yes, but a lot of it had to come through just difficulties in my life growing up, and being in a place of learning God before he even allowed me to be in the position to parent multiple special needs children. There were some things, I tell people, my son, he's 12 years difference between my firstborn. And I've always wanted a little boy. So he's the only one I have, and I always say I believe God gave him to me because he was tired of me begging him. But he still waited, and I think there was some things that he wanted to instill in me beforehand.
Yes.
Because the 3 youngest are nonverbal. And with that being said, those things that God instilled in me prepared me to have a level of trust and faith in God that I trust you above anything, so that if you have allowed for me to have children with special needs and with challenges, I trust you more than anything.
Well, bless you for that. I wasn't that adult. I really appreciate the mother that you have been. Now tell us about some of your activities.
So, well, some of my activities as a mother are just led mainly by my children.
Okay.
And the things that they show interest in. And so all of my children love music, every last one of them. So my youngest, who's 2, she's a level 3 autistic, which is considered the most severe, nonverbal. But more recently, she's began to speak words, and we noticed that those words came through the love of music. So she would learn through song.
Yes.
And so a lot of the activities that we incorporate with our children is simply how can we help them navigate through these challenges based off the things that they love. So it may be music, it may just be playing outside, it may be in the grocery store, and pointing things out and reading to them and showing them what it is. And so we like to take the approach of equipping them with the things that can be said to be a challenge based off of the things they already love and have interest in.
And it's so important for our children, for us to find out what they're interested
Yes.
in, because that makes our job so much easier.
Yes.
My son is great. He's very athletic. He was good in sports, but he can't be on a team because he doesn't know about taking turns and following the rules. So he was good at track and skating, and he won medals in the Special Olympics. But he wasn't concerned about getting the medals. He came home and he wanted to throw the medals away. And I said, no, we want these. These are important. So they give us a different perspective of how things could be. Now, I don't know if you want to talk about your own situation, about your journey into your diagnosis. Did you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Because I believe that in me sharing my experience, there can be somebody out there
Yes,
that needs to hear it and it can
absolutely.
help. Because one of the things that a lot of times you will hear, and especially depending on the cultural differences in communities, is there's nothing wrong with that child.
Yes.
They're okay.
Yes.
They're just they'll
Yes.
talk when they're ready.
Yes.
Or their mom was the same way, their dad was the same way. Well, maybe their mom or dad was autistic too and just didn't have a diagnosis. So my journey into getting a diagnosis was having children with a diagnosis.
Wow.
And learning more about it to say, hey, this sounds like me. This is normal for me, where everyone else growing up thought it to be different or thought it to be weird. And I was always, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And so it led me to go get evaluated, and surprise, is you're autistic as well. But it was a relief for me.
I'm sure it was. And for you to be high functioning as you are, it never would have occurred to you if you hadn't gone to get the diagnosis.
And see, the thing is that what I explain to people is what the functioning labels that, we have with children on the spectrum or even adults on the spectrum are based off of what you see going on the outside.
Yes.
And their ability or lack of ability to do everyday things, right? It doesn't hinder me from, I'm married, I have 4 children. I went back to school. I just completed school and got my license as an esthetician. So it seems that I'm living a normal life and it's not affecting me. But what goes on internally, what's not seen. And so those are the things that that people did not know about. The things where when I got the diagnosis, it was a relief to me because those things that
I answered a lot of questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Because when you're able to function in a certain kind of way, but it's still an internal struggle to be able to do that, you tend to not share. You tend to just, I have to do it because this is what I'm told is supposed to be done, and you do it, but the weight of it.
Yes.
It's totally different.
But I so greatly appreciate you because it was speaking to high functioning people that were on the spectrum that helped me understand my son, because he doesn't talk. And so I needed to speak to people on the spectrum who could talk, who could explain some things to me, and I've always done that. So I so greatly appreciate you. Do you have any advice for parents of children with autism?
Well, one advice, you just said it, to be willing to speak with other autistics
Yes.
that are on a higher level on the spectrum, to be able to hear autistic voices. Because the one thing that I say, that while I have my challenges being an autistic individual raising autistic,
yes,
I also have I have advantages that I have an understanding of certain things, even though they're nonverbal. just because of the neurodivergent mind and how it works. And I'm like, I understand it perfect. I know exactly why they're doing what they're doing. So to be able to listen to autistic voices,
Yes.
and be able to have an understanding,
Yes.
and before you bring your children to a place of, I'm trying to get them to this place, be willing to meet them where they are, because God meets us where we are.
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the most important things. I'm just so proud of how you took the situation and adjusted to it.
One, let me say I'm proud of you because you raised an autistic child during a time where there was not as much information.
That's right.
There was not as much resources. And so it was almost like going into it blindly, because most of the research that they did have, which was little in time, was research that was predicated on a neurotypical mindset.
Dr. Bernard Rimland, who was one of our psychologists or psychiatrists, he ended up with a child that had autism. And he wrote a book and he let them know that parents are not the cause of this. They still don't know the cause of it. But I wanted to ask you, when my son came along, facilitated communication was very big. And that's where you held their hand and let them type. But there's a controversy because they said the person holding the hand was doing the typing. Is there anything about facilitated communication going on now?
Well, now what they do, they call it hand over hand, and they don't do it for communication, but they do it more for occupational therapies and things as far as teaching them how to do certain things where maybe they don't know how to tie their shoe yet, or maybe they don't know how to zip a zipper yet. So these type of delays, but for communication, you see more they use what's called the spec card. So it's like a picture with the word so that they can point to the pictures or they can touch it.
Yes.
And for some children that doesn't work. So my 6-year-old has recently been approved for a speech device. So it's a tablet that has this program where it still has certain pictures and words where he can either push it one word or he can put a whole sentence in and it speaks for him.
And he does. He likes that.
He likes it, yes, he does.
Because my son does not want to communicate. So even the devices, he didn't even want to work on the devices. He's just as happy not communicating. If you take him to the market and he can get what he wants, and he does his own cooking if you let him. Now, my son, at his age now, he's in a group home part-time, and he's with me 1 week out of the month. But during the week that he's with me, he can do the cooking, cook as many fries as he wants to, and that's something he can't do at the group home. So do any of your children have things that they like to do that they can do at home?
So, well, one of my 2-year-old, autistic or not, she's 2, so so we know that comes with its challenges
yes.
of wanting to do things on their own, but not quite yet capable of. But my 6-year-old, will go out, and when my husband cuts the grass, he would take the leaf blower and he blows it. He helps him plant flowers and different things. So any of the things that we are doing that he shows the interest, we allow them to participate and try to help. And where my children have helped me, as you are familiar with, one of the traits of an autistic is they like things a certain way.
Oh, yes.
And my family, before knowing I was autistic, was like, that child is OCD. And so having children on the spectrum that also like things a certain way, and it may not be the way that mommy likes it.
Yes.
It has taught me to where I have to be able to be open to change.
But I am proud of you for that, because one of the autistic traits is not open to change.
Yes.
And not doing all the adjusting that you have had to do. You have had to adjust to each child differently.
Yes.
So we are going to take a short break. Stick and stay and don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for sticking with me for a spoonful of comfort. I've been having a very illuminating conversation with Tatiana about our children that have autism. I thought that I had it bad with one child that has autism. She has 4 special needs children, and she is a special person because she handled her situation so much better than I handled mine. But we do have another guest who is going to do some more enlightening for us about autism. So Alea Mpoko, who is active in the autism world. I'm very honored and happy to have her as a guest on the show. Well, hello, darling. Thank you so much for joining us. I so greatly appreciate you. And am I correct that you are an ABA instructor?
I am, yes. That is what, they're different titles in South Africa. That was the title of my position, yes.
Well, it's applied behavior analysis. I think it's the same thing here as in South Africa, but they did not have that in the 70s when my son was born. So how did you get interested in the autism?
So when I was in South Africa, there's a postgraduate degree that you have to do before you take your master's. It's called an honors degree. And the town where I was is a really small town. And there was a company that a Center for Children with Autism and Related Disorders that came, and they were hoping to establish a center there where I was studying, and so they were looking for volunteers. And it immediately sounded like something that I wanted to be able to do. I wasn't really sure. I had heard from a friend of mine who had been an ABA instructor, and I was just really open to it. So I said, yeah, sign me up. And that's how I got into it. And immediately when I started the training, I honestly just fell in love with understanding the principles of behavior and how effective it can be when it's implemented in the right way.
Well, I thank you so much because our people are some of the most challenging behaviors. So for you to take that on and say you were excited about it, I am thankful. People like me, parents of children with autism, we need people like you. So thank you so much. So did you have any strategies or treatments or anything that you wanted to mention? Like, I had to learn strategies for handling my son who has autism, who's probably older than you. He is 48. He still can't read, write, talk, or live independently. So I was very pathetic when he was first diagnosed because he's on the lower end of the spectrum, and all the things that I was trying to help him with, they weren't working. So have you experienced that yet, trying to accomplish something with a person and them being autistic, they're just not cooperating?
It can be really challenging because in terms of the treatment, it is so individualized. And that's one thing that I definitely want to stress is that there is no one size fits all. If you've seen one child with autism, you've seen one child with autism. Every single child, their symptoms present differently. It just looks different for everyone. It's different levels of requiring support. And so the most important thing is having a program that is tailored to each individual. And what that looks like often, because in ABA we rely on data very heavily. And so as you start out by getting a big picture of what's going on with the person, and you kind of move from there, because you want to hear, if you're working with a child, you want to hear from the parents, you want to hear preferably from people in their life. And then through your own observations and interactions with the client, you begin to get a picture of what's going on. And so applying the principles of behavior specifically to their case is how you go about working on the different skill deficits and the challenging behaviors that you're seeing. And there are often times when you might start something and it might not be going or it might not be as successful as you might have anticipated. And so we rely on the data to tell us what direction to go in. So we'll know if something is working.
Are the parents mostly cooperative, or have you run into some situations that you had to modify because of the parent?
It really varies. They're parents, just like anyone else, come in all different forms, and I think different parents are facing different challenges that might make it more challenging for them to implement some of the things that we might be recommending at home. But yeah, you certainly get parents who are open to it, who are willing, and then some who it may take a little more information to them for them to understand sort of why we're recommending what we are, and then understanding what the barriers are to them being able to implement our recommendations in the home. As you know, working with an individual with autism can be incredibly challenging because of some
Yes.
because of some of the skill deficits and the challenging behaviors that they're dealing with. And so when there's a certain skill that we might be working on, for instance, say teaching the child to say a certain word or a sentence, or teaching them to make their bed or make a sandwich. And if you've been working on it for weeks or sometimes even months in some cases, and one day everything clicks into place. Obviously, it's a progression. It's not just, no skills and then all of the skills at once. But when you reach a point that they succeed at something that you've been working on for months or for weeks, those are really exciting moments that we celebrate. And yeah, they come in different forms, but yeah, there's a lot of excitement when you get breakthroughs like that.
I want to thank the watchers for tuning in. I want to, and you. What about your autism story? Do you have someone with autism? Do you know someone with autism? Well, how do you think? What do you think about this autism situation? Because it's something that I never expected, but it has helped me grow into a better person. If you go to #Claudreen Jackson, I'd love to hear feedback, whatever comments that you have, questions, advice, whatever. Thank you so much. I thank you for tuning in, and until next time, may the power of God protect you, and may the love of God enfold you.